They were supposed to be China's future, but now they're fleeing in record numbers. Thousands of young Chinese are abandoning their homeland, disillusioned by Xi Jinping's suffocating grip on power. Surveillance, censorship, and fear have replaced dreams of prosperity. This isn't just an exodus, it's a mutiny. A silent rebellion is brewing as China's brightest minds choose escape over submission. What's happening inside China's walls is darker than you think. And the truth is unraveling faster than the regime can contain it. Across China, a quiet revolution is unfolding, not with protests in the streets, but with airline tickets, visa applications, and packed suitcases. A staggering number of young Chinese are leaving the country, and it's not just a trickle, it's a flood. According to United Nations data, Chinese nationals made over 750,000 asylum requests globally between 2012 and 2023, with a sharp increase in the last few years. The US, Canada, Australia, and even South American nations like Ecuador have become escape routes for those desperate to flee. This phenomenon has a name, too, in fact. The first is ruin, slang for run, a coded term now viral on Chinese social media. It symbolizes the desire to escape a tightening noose. The second is zouxian, or taking the line, referencing the dangerous land routes many take to reach the U.S. border through Central America. These aren't just job seekers or tourists. Many are students, tech professionals, doctors, and creatives, China's best and brightest. They're risking everything to get out. Demographically, it's the educated urban youth who are leading the charge. The same generation raised during China's boom years, told they would inherit a superpower, are now abandoning that dream. With unemployment among urban youth officially surpassing 20% in 2023, and suspected to be much higher, many see no future in Xi Jinping's China. Add to that the aggressive political climate, crackdowns on dissent, and pervasive surveillance, and it's no wonder they're choosing flight over fight. This isn't economic migration, it's political escape. What we're witnessing is the unraveling of China's social contract, and the consequences will ripple far beyond its borders. For millions of young Chinese, the dream of prosperity promised during China's rapid rise has curdled into a harsh economic nightmare. In June 2023, youth unemployment officially hit a record 21.3%, a number so staggering that it alarmed global economists. But instead of taking corrective measures, the Chinese government suspended the release of this data altogether. That move raised even more eyebrows. When a regime starts hiding numbers, it usually means the truth is far worse than what was reported. Behind this crisis is a deeper structural problem. China has spent decades encouraging its youth to pursue higher education, and the result has been a surge of university graduates. In 2023 alone, nearly 12 million students graduated into an economy that has no place for them. The job market has become saturated with degrees, law, engineering, computer science, but the available jobs often pay less than $400 a month or offer no meaningful growth. Many are forced to take delivery jobs, work in retail, or live off their parents. For a generation raised on nationalist optimism and the promise of the Chinese dream, this reality feels like betrayal. Tech sector layoffs have only worsened the situation. Once the crown jewel of modern China, tech firms like Alibaba, Tencent, and ByteDance have faced intense government scrutiny and crackdowns. Regulatory storms over issues like data control and monopolistic behavior have scared off investors and forced companies to freeze hiring or cut staff. The innovative, entrepreneurial energy that once defined China's youth economy has been stifled under state pressure. The result? A vast and growing sense of despair. This isn't just about economics, it's existential. These young people studied hard, followed the rules, believed in the system. And now, they're seeing the ladder pulled up before they've even had a chance to climb it. The mismatch between educational achievement and economic opportunity is so stark, it's creating a disillusioned class with nothing to lose, and every reason to leave. In an authoritarian regime, hopelessness becomes a dangerous currency. The youth are no longer asking, "How can I succeed here?" but rather, "How fast can I get out?" This economic despair is not a side effect, it's the spark that's lighting a fire under a generation on the run. In China's booming tech and corporate sectors, a notorious work schedule has become both a badge of pride and a mark of exploitation. The 996 culture, working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. Once hailed as the engine behind China's meteoric rise, this relentless grind has turned into a national symbol of burnout and despair. For millions of young workers, 996 isn't just a schedule, it's a life sentence. Take Li Wei, a 27-year-old coder in Shenzhen. He graduated from a top university, landed a job at a major tech firm, and thought he was on the fast track to success. But after 3 years of 996, he was physically wrecked, emotionally numb, and contemplating quitting not just his job, but the country. "I haven't seen daylight during the week in years," he said. "I work, eat, and sleep. That's it. What am I even living for?" Li's story isn't unique. Social media in China is flooded with similar testimonies, often shared anonymously to avoid retaliation. Stories of young women collapsing in subway stations from exhaustion, of men suffering heart attacks at their desks, of people breaking down in stairwells from mental stress. This is the dark underbelly of China's productivity obsession. And it's all compounded by immense societal pressure to succeed, marry, buy property, and support aging parents. The 996 lifestyle has even sparked a silent rebellion. Movements like Tang Ping, lying flat, and Bai Lan, let it rot, have gained popularity among young people rejecting the rat race altogether. But for many, opting out isn't enough. They're choosing to flee entirely, to countries where personal time, mental health, and basic labor rights still hold value. What began as an ambitious generation chasing growth has become one drowning in disillusionment. The system that promised glory has delivered exhaustion. For China's youth, the only way to breathe again is to escape. China's youth are not just fleeing economic hopelessness, they're running from a tightening political noose that leaves little room to breathe, let alone dissent. Under Xi Jinping's rule, the dream of a progressive, open society has morphed into a dystopia of constant surveillance, brutal censorship, and harsh punishment for those who dare to think differently. China's vast digital surveillance system tracks every movement, both online and off. Facial recognition cameras blanket cities, and artificial intelligence tools scan social media posts for politically sensitive content. Even encrypted messaging apps are no sanctuary. Authorities have ways of monitoring them, and young people have learned the hard way. A single meme, a sarcastic comment, or a shared article can trigger a visit from the police. In this climate, silence isn't just caution. It's survival. The consequences for speaking out are real and terrifying. In 2022, during the White Paper protests, when thousands of young Chinese silently held up blank sheets of paper in a symbolic rejection of censorship, dozens of participants were detained, interrogated, or disappeared. Among them was university student Zhang Zhan, who live-streamed from Shanghai during the lockdowns. She was arrested and sentenced to 4 years in prison for picking quarrels and provoking trouble, a vague charge commonly used to quash dissent. And then there was the infamous Bridge Man protest in Beijing, where a lone man unfurled a banner calling for Xi's removal. The protest was erased from the internet within minutes. His fate remains unknown. The message to young people was clear: dissent has no future in Xi's China. The zero-COVID policy exposed just how far the state is willing to go to control its citizens. Entire cities were locked down for months. People were welded into their homes. Students were sealed inside university dorms without food or communication. The psychological trauma of those years, marked by fear, isolation, and helplessness, left scars that haven't healed. For many young Chinese, the crackdown wasn't just on a virus. It was on their autonomy, their dignity, and their future. When the government began treating them like threats rather than citizens, the desire to run wasn't just about opportunity anymore. It became a matter of escape, survival, defiance. In a nation where youth once symbolized hope, they are now the silenced, fleeing not because they want to, but because they must. What began as a whisper on the internet has now become a war cry, run, or in Chinese, has become the digital symbol of resistance among China's disillusioned youth. It started as internet slang, a play on the English word run, but it evolved into a viral movement representing the desperate desire to flee a suffocating system. For many, run is not just about escape, it's about reclaiming agency in a country that denies them a future. On platforms like Weibo, Douban, and even overseas sites accessed through VPNs, young people share coded messages, tips on visa applications, language schools abroad, and loopholes in immigration policies. They trade stories of success and failure, offering guidance to others planning their exodus. Online forums are filled with search terms like soaring, a euphemism for taking the dangerous route through Central America to seek asylum in the U.S. These platforms have become lifelines in an otherwise tightly controlled society. But the Chinese government is not blind to this digital undercurrent. Authorities have launched sweeping crackdowns on online communities associated with the Run movement. Posts are deleted in real time. Accounts are suspended. Influencers who encourage emigration or speak candidly about life abroad face censorship, or even arrest. In 2022, several WeChat groups dedicated to sharing emigration advice were abruptly shut down, their administrators interrogated by police. Despite this, the movement persists. Run has become a code word that can't be killed. It spreads through memes, jokes, and satire, evading censors through creativity. The internet, though policed, remains the last refuge of free expression for many young Chinese. And in that space, a digital rebellion is unfolding. Quietly. Relentlessly. Defiantly. China's reach extends far beyond its borders through operations known as Fox Hunt and Skynet. Covert campaigns aimed at tracking down and coercing Chinese nationals abroad, especially those who have fled due to political or economic pressures. Officially launched to target corrupt officials and fugitives, these operations have morphed into tools for intimidating dissidents, activists, and even ordinary immigrants perceived as threats to the regime. Operatives often use surveillance, threats, and pressure on family members still in China to force compliance. In multiple cases across the United States, Canada, and Europe, Chinese expatriates have reported harassment, ranging from constant monitoring to direct threats, designed to silence them or compel their return. One high-profile example involved a prominent Chinese dissident in Canada who faced relentless intimidation campaigns until forced into hiding. The international fallout is significant. Countries hosting Chinese immigrants have grown increasingly wary of Beijing's extraterritorial reach, sparking diplomatic tensions and calls for stronger protections. These operations undermine the sovereignty of foreign nations and threaten the safety of Chinese diaspora communities worldwide, fueling fears of a surveillance state that follows its citizens wherever they go. For many young Chinese seeking freedom abroad, the reality is stark. Escape is only the first battle in a prolonged struggle against a regime unwilling to relinquish control. Across the globe, countless young Chinese have risked everything to break free from the tightening grip of Xi Jinping's China. Take Li, a 27-year-old former tech worker who fled after being blacklisted for speaking out against workplace abuses. She describes a harrowing journey, navigating visa rejections and financial hardships, all while haunted by fears for her family back home. Then there's Chen, a recent university graduate, who escaped the suffocating pressure of the 996 work culture and the constant surveillance that infiltrated even personal conversations. His hope is simple: to find a place where creativity and freedom are not luxuries but rights. Their stories reveal a generation caught between loyalty to their homeland and the desperate need for self-preservation. Many face isolation, culture shock, and uncertainty abroad, yet they hold on to the belief that a freer, more just life awaits. Through their voices, we glimpse the human costs behind the headlines: young lives uprooted, dreams deferred, and the unyielding will to survive. Thousands of young Chinese are risking everything to escape a country where freedom feels increasingly out of reach. Take Mei, a 24-year-old university graduate who left after repeated harassment for attending peaceful protests. She faced visa denials, financial strain, and the constant fear that her family back home would face repercussions. Yet her hope for a life where she can speak freely and pursue her passions kept her going. Then there's Wei, a software engineer who burned out under the brutal 996 work culture and felt crushed by relentless government surveillance. He made the painful decision to leave behind his career and family to find a place where innovation and privacy are respected. Adjusting to life abroad has been tough. Cultural isolation and uncertain futures weigh heavily, but the chance to live without fear is a price they are willing to pay. These personal stories reveal the deep desperation and courage of a generation forced to choose between loyalty to their homeland and their own survival. For many, leaving China is not just an escape. It's a bid for hope, freedom, and the chance to build a better future far from the shadows of repression. China's youth are fleeing in unprecedented numbers, driven by economic despair, relentless work pressures, and suffocating political repression. The Run movement and digital resistance reveal a generation desperate to reclaim control over their lives, while operations like Fox Hunt demonstrate the lengths the government will go to maintain its grip. These stories are more than statistics. They are a powerful testament to the human cost of authoritarianism. The urgency of this exodus cannot be overstated. As more young people abandon their homeland, the future of China itself hangs in the balance. Their flight is a silent plea for freedom, dignity, and a chance to live without fear. For the world watching, it is a stark reminder that the fight for liberty is ongoing and that the human spirit will always seek to break free from oppression. As you reflect on these revelations, consider the profound value of freedom and the heavy price paid when it is denied. The story of China's youth is not just a regional crisis. It is a call to recognize the universal right to live openly and to stand against forces that seek to silence it.